creation in general is non-English speaking content. Like on Netflix, you have great examples. This is not in South Korea, but like Money Heist. Hell, I don't know if it's still in theaters right now, but Godzilla -1. That might be one of the best monster movies I've ever seen. But anyway, I'm nerding out more than I try to on this show. Where I'll end this is with Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos. Because while obviously the data transparency was a huge part of the Hollywood strikes this year, Sarandos tried to frame this as saying, that's not the only reason we're doing this. With him telling reporters that the previous lack of transparency, it created an environment of mistrust around the data. So this is probably more information than you need, but I think it creates a better environment for the guilds, for us, for the producers, for the creators, and for the press. And also, a key thing is that now that Netflix has an ad tier, this kind of transparency is likely going to attract companies to put ad spots on the platform. Anyway, this story just made me feel like maybe we need to start doing watch parties. And then, the holiday season is in full swing, and by this time, most of us are in a rush with lots of online shopping. Just make sure that you and your loved ones are practicing safe shopping, right? Avoid companies tracking and selling data. And you can actually do that thanks to our fantastic partner and sponsor, NordVPN, or more directly, nordvpn.com/Phil, to help keep you and your data safe this holiday season. With an abundance of online banner ads, sidebars, and pop-ups everywhere, some of these are
Godzilla -1, huh? All right.
Malvertising ads created to infect your device with malware and viruses. And it sucks that attackers are out there creating convincing adverts containing hidden lines of malicious code and finding a way to feature their content on a legitimate website. Or when you click on an ad, you'll be directed to a dangerous server from which the rest of the attack will be launched. But a great way to thwart this is with NordVPN's threat protection service. It blocks dangerous sites and limits advertising, giving us a cleaner, safer browsing experience. So slow down and exercise some caution, because a healthy dose of skepticism will go a long way to keeping you secure. And take control of your internet experience today. Just go to nordvpn.com/Phil for a 2-year plan at a huge discount in 4 additional months. That's nordvpn.com/Phil, the best deal on the internet, and it's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And then we just got huge election news coming out of New York. I mean, the kind of election news that could change how 2024 plays out, at least in regards to control of the House of Representatives. Because New York's highest court just ordered the state to redraw new congressional maps, effectively throwing out a map that helped Republicans flip the House in 2022. And I'm gonna try to break this down for you because New York's redistricting over the last few years, it's been an absolute nightmare shit show. And that's like the nice way of describing it. Because back in 2014, New York voters passed a constitutional amendment that created an independent commission to guide New York's congressional map-making process. But that commission, which was composed of equal parts Republicans and Democrats, was unable to do its job in 2022. They just reached a deadlock, what Democrats and Republicans do best together. And so as a result, the Democratic legislature, they stepped in and designed a map that would very significantly benefit their party. Because yes, some Democrats gerrymandered too, with Republicans then responding, yeah, no, and they sued, with the New York State Court of Appeals striking down that map. And with that, also appointing a neutral expert to draw a replacement map. And that new map was used during the 2022 midterms, which very significantly helped Republicans flip 4 whole seats, which was absolutely key to the Republicans taking over the House. They have a 5-seat majority. Very slim, very close. And actually, that majority is now dropped to 4 seats with the expulsion of George Santos. It'll then fall to just 3 seats in January now that Kevin McCarthy's announced that he's leaving. But back on track with the story at hand. Because after Republicans flipped the New York districts, a group of voters with backing from the Democratic establishment sued, arguing that the court needs to give the map-making process back to the state legislature, saying that voters should have more of a say. And actually yesterday, the Court of Appeals ruled in their favor 4-3, arguing that the map used in 2022, that was only meant to be temporary, and ordering new maps to be proposed no later than February 28th, which means we go back to that independent commission that was deadlocked, and technically maybe something changed. Maybe the commission agrees on a map, or, and I would say it's more likely, they get deadlocked again on 2 different competing versions. But, very key thing here, regardless of what happens there, the state legislature is given the ultimate power to reject or change any proposal. Because Democrats there have a supermajority in both chambers, they'll have a lot of sway in choosing a map that'll benefit them. Though of course, to avoid another drawn-out legal battle, or at least another drawn-out legal battle that they're likely to lose, it's argued that Democrats in the legislature need to be smart to adopt a map that's at least similar to designs from the independent commission. And understand, all of this is playing out while the state does technically still ban partisan gerrymandering. But experts say that legislatures would really only need to wiggle the map lines a little bit to help Democrats' chances. And potentially, I mean, by a lot. With Dave Wasserman, an elections analyst with the Cook Political Report, telling the New York Times, they might have won 2 or 3 of those Biden districts back anyway. Now it might be 5 or 6. When you're talking about such a narrow majority in the House, obviously that's a big deal. But of course, with all this, we're gonna have to see how it plays out in New York, and also, I mean, nationwide. I mean, New York's just a small piece of the greater puzzle, but it is a meaningful piece. It's really just a question of how meaningful it'll be. But then, let's close out today's show and talk about yesterday today, where we dive into yesterday's comments and see what y'all had to say. And as expected, most of the conversation had to do with that crazy story out of Alaska, which if you're watching today's show, you missed yesterday's, I highly recommend you watch it. But it had y'all saying things like, the fact that more effort was put forth in finding justice for a dog over a human woman is just unconscionable. And I say this as someone that would move heaven and earth for my dog, but my God. Indigenous women are preyed upon at an alarming rate, and little to no attention is given to the majority of cases. So you had Gavin adding the murder and abuse of Indigenous women in this country is heartbreaking and doesn't get enough attention. It brings me to tears that these women who had friends and family will never get
But
to
they're
have
white
stupid
people.
conversations or long nights with
Come
their
on,
friends
they're
that they
white
all get to
people.
do, all because some
The
scumbag
rapists,
who has never been held
they're white
accountable
people.
decided their life was theirs to play with. We also had Zedden adding, as a traveling healthcare provider in Alaska, I am unfortunately
What can we
not
do? They're
proud of
white.
The first story. We see so much domestic violence up here, and there's nothing we can do about it. When both police officers in the village are brothers of the abuser, these women
Not all of
nothing
it's
but
white,
trouble
but a
for
lot of it
reporters. When
is.
their entire support network is all located in the single subsistence.
And
based
we
village,
can't
there's nowhere
prosecute
else
white
for them to
rape.
go. And finally, I just want to
No.
say to all the people that were like, "Hey, thank
That
you for
would be,
covering this story. Like this story getting reported.
that would be
it's good
normal.
news." My responses to that
We're
are,
not
of
normal.
course, definitely, but also this, like all this thanks that goes to ProPublica. They put out the initial deep dive that caught my attention. That was also notably produced by their local reporting network. And I mean, that by itself, I think it touches on why it is so important that especially local news reporters get monetary support. Corruption, very questionable, sketchy situations, they get pushed under the rug when you don't have local reporters. And while it's great, you know, some idiot like me can add their megaphone to the story and try and make it consumable and try and get the word out. I do genuinely have worries about the future of news. Because I've found, and this is as someone that's part of that system, feels like there's a lot more attention and, I mean, even to a certain degree, money on the commentary of news stories, the consolidation and repackaging of news stories rather than the actual on-the-ground people that are trying to get the stories out. But also, I know that we've done videos touching on that. But yeah, I think that's top of mind because obviously we just covered this story, but also because, I mean, I feel like every time I open up Twitter, I'm just like, oh God, it feels like very loose, reckless, engagement baiting stuff is just, that's become king over like actually taking time and making sure stuff is real. And it's all happening as we go into the 2024 election cycle.
Testify,
and
Philip.
that is where your show for Wednesday is going to end. But
I
one,
like
for
Philip.
more news you need to know that maybe you've missed, I got you covered right here. You can click or tap. I got links in the description as well. And two, don't worry, because my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll
You've
see
just been
you
filled
tomorrow.
in. How an anti-gay senator was caught sleeping with 94 men.
Remember it like it was yesterday, one case. I was fresh on the force with a thin...
Sold. Thank you, Vince Vintage, for how an anti-gay senator was caught sleeping with 94 men. And let's just move forward. Never heard of this particular content provider. Let's do it.
mustache and a thinner wallet. But even back then,
I
had
love
a sharp
Seven.
nose for hot leads. I was assigned to go undercover in the men's restroom at the Minneapolis airport. The rookies at airport security called me in. The professional did reports of certain men turning tricks with one another, if you're catching my drift. There was a pervert out there, and it was my job to
There's
find
a
him.
pervert out there.
After taking out the bathroom stall, I'd
Oh,
managed to get my
God.
first bite. A United States Senator, Larry Craig. I could see a slender face staring at me through the gap in the door. I was stunned to my core. For minutes, he would fidget with his hands and then pop back up to look through the crack with those piercing blue eyes. And in that moment, I couldn't help but wonder, wasn't Craig a Republican senator from Idaho? Didn't he sit on the board of the NRA? Was he about to tango with an undercover officer? Soon enough, I had my answer. Craig entered the stall next to me and placed his bag up against the front of the door. Interesting. For my time cleaning up these streets, he had done this to give himself a bit of extra privacy for what he was about to do next. As I waited, I could see Craig's shoes, his pants, got a waft of his cheap CVS cologne. And then bingo. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. Foot tapping, that's the signal for men wanting to turn tricks in the bathroom.
So if you do see a foot inching closer or doing that infamous like tapping, which for those of you who need a translation means I'm looking for or am ready to give a blowy.
Looks like we hit a good lead today, Charlie. With every tap, he moved his foot closer to mine. Just like I'd learned at the academy, I moved my foot up and down slow, like a mating routine, and I was luring him in. I then caught a glimpse of his gold wedding band on his finger. Craig's a married man, trying to get some bathroom action in a downtown airport in Minneapolis. I immediately thought about his kids, his wife, his traditional family values, and by then I had it. So I showed Craig my police badge and pointed towards the exit. Craig responded, "No!" Without causing a scene, I threw on the cuffs and escorted Craig out of that bathroom. What a way to end the week. Craig kept asking me what was gonna happen, like a 5-year-old boy whining to his mama about his missing Pokemon cards. So I told him, "You're under arrest." I brought Craig down to the station and told him to get cozy and hand me over his ID. Instead, with a shit-eating grin, he handed me his United States Senator business card and asked me, what did I think about that? I tossed his card to the ground and told him his money was no good here, because no one plays me for a sucker and gets away with it. He then handed me his driver's license. Guess I'll be working late tonight. Now, after being arrested in a sting operation, fingerprinted, and even posing for mugshots with his American flag pin on his suit, Senator Larry Craig would quietly plead guilty to lewd and disorderly conduct for some of that, same style action, you know what I mean. Now, he would admit to it. He signed the guilty plea on the dotted line, just like Willy Wonka, and then told nobody about it. Not his wife, not his kids, not even his constituents. Now, Senator Craig had gotten away with this. He had narrowly avoided a career and
Nobody knew.
scandal, or so we thought.
Today, a Washington, D.C. political newspaper broke the story that Senator Craig was arrested in June in a Minneapolis airport bathroom for lewd conduct.
Roll Call magazine broke the story a month later about his arrest, and the truth would come out to set Larry Craig free. Because who really was Larry Craig, the Republican senator? Yeah, he was in that barbershop quartet called the Singing Senators, where he sang lead vocals with 4 other Republican senators. That's real.
My heart's on fire, hell fire up.
He also sat on the board of the NRA.
As many of you know, I have been a life member and on the National Board of Directors of the National Rifle Association since 1982.
But the reality was that Craig was just a massive hypocrite.
And we won't let the Venezuelas or the Nigerias or the Saudi Arabias or the Irans jerk us around by the gas nozzle.
He had a long, extensive, girthy, thick, wide history of voting for anti-gay policies. For example, he voted in the military's don't ask, don't tell policy, which, don't ask me about it, because I'm not going to tell you.
Fauci was criticized for forcing military personnel into secrecy and for falling short of total acceptance of their ability and right to serve in the military.
He also
Fucking
voted to ban
humanity.
same-sex marriages, unions, and partnerships. This part I think is messed up. He even voted yes on a bill that wouldn't allow hate crimes to cover sexual orientation. So being caught with your pants down, cruising for men in an airport bathroom.
Cruising is what 2 men do in a public place to initiate sex. It's completely anonymous. Rarely would a name be changed.
While you advocate for traditional family values, was a bit awkward for him. So left with no options, Larry Craig would come out and deny everything, with his wife at his side, mind you. Craig would open up his public denial with no Freudian slip by saying, "Thank you for coming out today."
Thank you all very much for coming out today.
Which I think is fine. Maybe you don't, maybe I do, I don't know.
I did nothing wrong and I regret
For coming out today.
to plead guilty.
That's what he said at the not coming out thing.
Inappropriate conduct at the Minneapolis airport. I am not gay. I never have been gay.
You are
because
gay.
I am not gay.
You're gay.
I love my wife.
You're fabulous. Accept it.
So the Minneapolis police, they weren't too happy about Craig's public denial because this would contradict that plea agreement he had signed when he got arrested, which that document states the court will not accept a plea from anyone who believes they're innocent. So to counter Craig's denial and set the story straight, the police interrogation recording was released to the public.
You guys are this scared of being called gay, huh?
It's pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie.
Jesus Christ.
You do anything with your feet? Position them? I don't know at the time. I'm a fairly wide guy. I understand. I tend to spread my legs when I lower my pants so they won't slide. Okay. Did I slide them too close to yours? I looked down once your foot was close to mine? Yes. Did we bump? You said so. I don't recall that, but apparently we were close. Well, your foot did touch mine on my side of the stall. All right.
Now, Craig claimed that his foot came into contact, or may have made contact with this undercover officer because he was a quote-unquote pretty wide guy. A comment that would haunt him for the rest of his life as Larry Wide Stance Craig. Now, maybe you're thinking to yourself, maybe he did have a wide stance. He was a big guy. Maybe this cop who arrested him was out to make a quota. Maybe you believe Larry Craig is innocent. What if I told you that this wasn't the first time Craig was caught in a sticky situation? Craig has been denying he's been gay since 1982. 1982. 2 17-year-old boys from the Congressional Pages program, like an intern program for high school kids, make allegations of sexual abuse from the older members of Congress with the younger interns. Now, the FBI would step in to investigate these serious claims, and they speculated that it involved up to 15 members of Congress.
If you could put a number on the number of
How many
congressional
men?
employees that you may have direct knowledge of involvement in illicit activity, how many would that be?
Direct knowledge, 15 to 20.
Though these people were not named publicly. So here's a little tip. Generally, it's best to avoid making public denials about accusations, especially when the person that they are accusing
I didn't know the
is
control
unnamed.
helicopter was
Apparently,
going to be
Larry
out
Craig never
here.
got that message because he was the
I'm gonna go
only
back home
congressman to
before
issue
I
a
die.
public denial.
Persons who are unmarried, as I am, by choice or by circumstance, have always been the subject of innuendos, gossip, and false accusations.
Now, there was only one problem. Those two boys whose tales of sexual abuse set off FBI investigations and Senate Ethics Committee hearings a year later had admitted to making up the entire story.
An FBI spokesman said today that so far the Bureau has not been able to corroborate charges that congressional pages have been pressured into sexual activity with members of Congress. And the spokesman said it's not a widespread, organized problem.
So Craig had denied something that no one had even accused him of that didn't even happen at all. Okay, now this clip is funny. In the 1990s, Bill Clinton was getting berated for the Monica Lewinsky scandal. So Larry Craig would go on air and say this about President Clinton.
Bad boy, Bill Clinton, you're a naughty boy. The American people already know that Bill Clinton is a bad boy, a naughty boy.
Sounds to me like someone likes to be called a naughty boy. But here's one of the craziest parts. So 1 month before he was arrested in that bathroom for cruising for men, the Idaho Statesman newspaper, the state that he was a senator of, was doing a 5-month investigation into over 300 accusations
boat
of
is
Larry
glitched.
Craig having liaisons with other men. Some is going far back as 1967. But it gets even crazier. They'd even interviewed Larry Craig
Earth's
and
the
his
land
wife
of
about
his
all
land.
of these allegations 3 weeks before he was arrested. Oh my God, his wife. I feel bad for his wife. Now, one of the most credible accusations was a donor who had close ties to the Republican Party, and he said that he had witnessed Larry Craig with multiple unnamed men doing things I can't say here at the Union Station men's bathroom, which, if you didn't
Union
know, is quite the
Station.
hotspot for cruising. And also, if you didn't know, Union Station is a few blocks away from the Senate. Now, of course, when asked about this, Craig would just openly deny it. He said, "I am not gay. I've never been in a restroom in Union Station having sex with anybody. I am not gay, and I never have been." Now, another man said that Craig had cruised him at an REI store in Boise, Idaho.
REI
Craig
store.
responded to this allegation, saying, "I've been in this business 27 years in the public eye. I don't go around hitting on men, and by golly, if I did, I wouldn't do it in Boise, Idaho." Out of all
Jiminy.
the things you could say, why would you say that? I wouldn't
Why would
do
you
it
say
in Boise,
Jiminy?
Idaho. Okay, dude. So with Larry Wide Stance Craig gaining national and even worldwide attention, he was just the laughingstock of the town in 2007. Late night comedians are ripping him apart.
So, sir, you really are serious about keeping your seat in the Senate?
Oh, absolutely. I still feel that I can be of service to the men of Idaho.
If you're interested in applying for an intern position with Senator Larry Craig, here is the official application announcement.
Be proficient in Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint. Have a distinguished brow, firm-set jaw, strong but knowing hands.
I think it should be called My Wide Stance.
My Wide Stance.
And even Hassan's uncle, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, ripped Larry Craig apart.
Now, Larry Craig says, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. The playing the footsies? I just have a wide stance in the bathroom." Wide stance Larry Craig.
He was Wide Stance Larry. And all of this scandal really came at a bad time for
Wide
Larry Craig
stance.
because he was up for re-election soon. So when you're getting hit from the left for being a hypocrite, you're getting hit from the right for not living his true traditional family values. I mean, Mitch McConnell even called his acts
Family
unforgivable.
values is what they call
Imagine Mitch
homophobia.
McConnell calling you
Like to them it's family values, right? To us it's homophobia. To the woke people or whatever. To them it's family values. Also, with the amount of incest cases, family values is about right.
unforgivable. It's gotta hurt really bad. So on September 1st, Craig would announce to the public that he was gonna resign from the Senate a month later on September 30th. You know, with sadness and regret and for the goodness of the American people. And everyone was clapping. Everyone's like, cool, you're gonna resign. But our story isn't over, because just 3 days later, Craig had a change of heart. He actually withdrew his resignation and pledged to the American people that if he could get his conviction overturned, he wouldn't resign. I mean, this guy had no shame. So the day he made this pledge to the American people, he had an army of attorneys filed a motion to withdraw that guilty plea that he had signed. Which also, mind you, it is near impossible to get a guilty plea overturned in the United States.
Idaho Senator Larry Craig looking to reverse his guilty plea in an airport bathroom sex sting.
Craig wants his sexting guilty plea thrown out.
He'd promised to step down. Now he's reversing course. Senator Craig is refusing to step down.
He's changed his mind about stepping down.
But with a team of $500 hour attorneys
They all
and
sound
the
the
senator's
same. It's
political
so
pool,
funny.
for sure, they can get this guilty plea overturned. I mean, that's what America's all about, baby. Get this thing overturned.
Get this thing overturned.
Idaho Senator Larry Craig has lost his latest attempt to withdraw his guilty plea following a men's room sex sting at the Minneapolis airport.
The guilty plea was still upheld after spending $213,000 on attorneys and PR people within a month. He was still guilty of lewd conduct in that airport bathroom. Now,
Republicans are so awesome.
Larry Craig said he was a man of his word, traditional values, that he was going to resign for the good of the people if he didn't get this conviction overturned. So would he resign from the Senate? Of course not. He would serve out the rest of his 15 months left in his term and retired on January 3rd, 2009.
Thank you very much.
And so Senator Larry
Just get out of here. Get out of here.
But Craig's
Goes
comedy
down.
of errors doesn't end there.
Goes down.
Investigates found the former congressman.
That's literally how he says it. So Senator Craig goes down. Oh my
Was
God.
still spending campaign cash after his public service had ended.
Because a couple of years later, Craig was investigated and sued from the Federal Election Commission for illegally using campaign funds to pay for his $213,000 attorney bill that couldn't even fight off his guilty plea and was told he had to pay it back because it was an ethics thing. Which is one of the rare cases I've seen where someone actually gets penalized for some missing campaign money. Now, you may be asking yourself, what's Craig up to these days? He just couldn't leave Washington. He loved it too much. So today, he's a lobbyist for the lumber industry, where he advocates for the destruction of forests and Mr. B's team trees all across the United States. And it's really the perfect job for any disgraced politician. Now, this story's ironic. The whole time he was copping a feel, he was actually feeling a cop. But in all seriousness, let's talk about the one lesson to take away. Whether you think he's guilty or not, talk to a lawyer. Never sign a guilty plea without talking to an attorney. He should have never signed that. Now, I'm not making fun of Craig for being gay or closeted or maybe he's bisexual. It's more of a hypocrisy of his morals. And I found this quote from an openly gay member of Congress that sums up Craig's situation.
Yeah, buddy, we don't care that you're gay. I think you seem to care. You seem to care because you hang out with Republicans all day. Don't hang out with Republicans all day. If you're gay. I always say stuff like this. I say Jews, like women and gay people for Trump is like Jews for Hitler. Don't hang out with Republicans all day and when you're gay. Simple enough. Because I don't think those people with their family values are where that probably shouldn't be where you have your community. It's not the right place for you, I don't think. You're obviously gay. No one cares. It's okay. It's all good. No one cares. You're good. You know? You're the one who cares.
Nicely. You have a right to privacy, but not hypocrisy. During the period that I was closeted for 7 years, I was always a gay rights supporter. It's a violation of principles to vote one way and act another. Now, before you leave, if you want to support me and get more content like this, go to my Patreon. Banger.
Excuse me.
This video is brought to you by you.
Thank you, Skill Up, for the excellent content from my stream. I'd like to sub to your channel.
Rika Ergonomic and their new Curio display cabinet. I just got one, so I finally have a place to properly show off my favorite collectibles, with the adjustable LED lighting making all the difference. Click the link below to check it out for yourself, or stick around to the end of the video to learn more. Gamers, let me begin by saying I know why you're here. You want to hear me cover the day before, arguably the biggest shit show of 2023, a year that was already pretty stacked with shit shows. Here's the truth though, as I was writing that block, I got up to like 3,000 words just on that, and I wasn't even close to done. This show, by the way, is 6,000 words every week, so I had a choice. Either let that story drown out every other piece of news this week, or make that its own video, complete with some actual hands-on impressions of the game, and also do this news show. So I chose the latter. I promise you I am going to cover the day before in the next day or two, because it's just too much fun not to. But in this episode, I'm going to ask for a little bit of your patience while we cover all of the other stuff that's going on in the industry this week. There's some really interesting stuff happening, and I didn't want to let these fucking scammers overshadow all of that with their bullshit. I hope that's okay with y'all. I hope y'all is okay with y'all. I'm not American, but I like to try it on every now and then. Let me know in the comments below what you think. This is This Week in Video Games, and here comes the news.
But fun fact, my speech was actually longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign.
It was the joke heard around the room, and it was one of the few moments of genuine humanity and soul on display in what turned out to be an overly corporatized, dispassionate, and impersonal event. I'm talking, of course, about the Game the Game Awards 2023. Chris Judge's gag was pregnant with meaning. He had, of course, the year before, delivered an 8-minute long barn burner. Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't the barn burning, it was the temperature in and around Jeff Keighley's aura as he slowly went thermonuclear at the sight of Judge upsetting his precious run sheet. To be fair, Judge did take the piss a little, or maybe a lot, but it was a deeply human speech that we will all remember. I'm sorry if that gets in the way of the gacha game commercials, but sometimes you just gotta let a man speak. Unfortunately, Jeff wasn't about to let anyone stage a repeat of that this year, and as such, he and his team pre-briefed award nominees, instructing them that if they won, they had a tight 30 seconds to give their speech and get off the stage.
Get off the stage!
Start playing them off. The first time this music came on was during Judge's speech, and it was a joke. The second time it came on, it was not. Neil Newbon, the voice of Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3, won the award for Best Performance, and here's how the back
Oh, look, he's fabulous.
One thing I will say, please, if that's okay, the community has reached out to so many of us at Larian and said they were seen and they were represented by this game when they lost hope. They felt isolated, they felt alone.
He's fabulous. Look, he's got nail polish.
Game brought them together and gave them something to push through to help them all. And to you, I want to
Hells yeah, brother! Fuck yes!
You're not alone in this. None of us are. Thank
Nope.
you.
Testify.
That's right. I mean, it kind of seems like he was saying something important, something worth listening to, something that reaches out to people who don't usually get a voice and who aren't often seen. And, you know, that message was cut short so we could play the third Fortnite trailer for the night, or whatever it was. I don't fucking know. It got
Lego
so bad that even
Fortnite.
Jeff Keighley had to admit that he messed up. After the ceremony, he tweeted the following
Lego
quote, "By the way, I
Fortnite
do agree
is
that
what
music
it
was
is.
played too fast for award winners this year, and I asked our
I like
team to
Lego
relax that
Fortnite.
rule as the show went on. While no one was actually cut off, it's something to address going forward," end quote. And it's true that the requirement was relaxed, but it didn't stop award winners from being unceremoniously told to wrap it up. In an image that's gone viral since the show, the teleprompter has come to symbolize what this award show was all about. Lip service to game makers, lightning fast acceptance speeches, winners being carted off so quickly it felt like each of them rushed the stage like that rabbi kid. Cut back to commercial, to commercial, to commercial. If I sound overly cynical about this, I would remind you that I'm actually not like this when it comes to the Game Awards usually.
Why
I've
is
always been
Gonzo at the
imperfect,
Game
but
Awards?
I've usually been quite sympathetic to the challenges of making these events happen. They are very expensive, high production value showcases, and Jeff has to sell ads to make these events possible. Fair play, I say, and
Why are they on a
congratulations to him for what he
stage?
does. But this year, the balance was really, really bad.
Why are there people on a stage at this Game Awards event? What?
Best indie category. This is important because indie games are often the most creative, the hardest to make, and the most inspiring games that can release in a given year. Jeff Keighley himself was banging on about how important it is to use the Game Awards to highlight indie games, so why then, when it came to award the best indie game gong, was the winner announced in an offstage area where Sea of Stars director Terry Bollinger couldn't actually accept the award on behalf of his team and say his piece. This is a very passionate man, mind you. We interviewed him on the FPS podcast, and he is legitimately inspiring. I guarantee you that if he'd stood up that night, he'd have said something that you would have remembered. But he didn't get the chance to do that because we were racing to get back to the trailer profiling the next Honkai Star Rail update or some shit. There were other categories similarly overlooked. Best action game to FromSoft for Armored Core, best art direction to Remedy for Alan Wake 2, best community to Larian for Baldur's Gate 3, best score. Soken wrote the music for Final Fantasy 16 from his hospital bed while he was going through chemo, and while he was also writing music for another game, Final Fantasy 14. You mean to tell me that that man or someone representing him shouldn't have had the chance to stand up and have his moment? Look, to be clear, I don't think we're too far from what it needs to be. Just a few less ads and a few more awards handed out, a bit more time to each speaker. Do that and I think you got yourself one hell of an award show. But when you get that stuff wrong, it really sours the whole event. And given how much backlash we've seen on social media, I'm sure Jeff and his team are going to have to respond and make some
Look
big
at that
changes to
fucking disaster.
But yes, outside of that, most of the games we expected to win the things won the things. Best debut indie went to the fantastic Cocoon. Games for Impact went to the delightful Tchia. Audio design was a nice one since it went to Hi-Fi Rush, a game that deserved many a gong, so it was nice to see it get at least one. Best narrative went to Alan Wake 2, as well as best game direction, while Starfield won the award for best Nakey Jakey video of 2023. Love that exercise ball. Game of the Year was unsurprisingly Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, there was never really any doubt, was there? Maybe if you hadn't played it, but if you'd come close to its orbit or even just met anyone who'd played it, you could tell from their incessant yammering about it that Larian had clearly pulled off a generational feat, one that well and truly rocked the industry in all the best ways. I got to meet Swen for the second time. The first time was back in 2018 in a men's room. We didn't shake hands or anything, we did the nod thing, you know, we definitely had a moment. It's an incredible success story for him and his team, a bunch of hardcore CRPG nerds who believed that this genre still had life in it, far more than anyone else could see. They bet the house on this vision, hell, they bet the shirt on their back, and it paid off so handsomely. A wonderful fairy tale ending for our knight in shining armor. Alright, so now that we've dealt with those pesky, bothersome award winners, let's get down to the real reason this show exists, the ads. There were some good ads this year, by the way, let me tell you. Pre-show, the biggest standout was Windblown, the next thing from Motion Twin, the team behind the astoundingly good Dead Cells. Dead Cells was not only a breakout hit at launch, but it's gone on to be supported and updated extensively over the years, continuing to maintain its position as one of the best roguelites on the market. Windblown is also carrying that roguelike tradition, but obviously with an all-new setting, perspective, art style, and combat framework. Plus, it's co-op. Literally zero things I don't love about this, and given the track record...
Yeah, I don't love the isometric. But hey, if the camera's 3D,
sometime next year.
it'll be okay.
Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons was Joseph Fares' breakout game well before he'd go on to win Game of the Year for It Takes Two. Brothers is getting a remake, which is lovely because I never actually played the first one, so this will be a great excuse. Hey, take a look at this one. This is No Rest for the Wicked, and it's the next thing from Moon Studios, makers of the Ori games. This is an all-new IP for them and combines their signature hand-drawn art style with an isometric RPG fantasy setting. Definitely heard a few awestruck gasps in the crowd when this trailer played. No date for this one yet, but it is out sometime next year. There was a Jurassic Park game revealed called Survival. It seems to just be replaying the moments we remember from the first movie without adding anything to them, so you can put me in the skeptical column for this one. We've got to look at Akumi Nakamura's debut game from her newly minted studio. According to Jeff, they don't actually have a publisher yet, so I guess this was kind of one big advertisement for her. I suspect she won't struggle to find support given how good all of this looks. One of the best reveals was this, Tales of Kenzera Zhao. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it was introed by this guy, Aboukabar Salim, who told a very moving story about the way that video games connected he and his late father, and that this game is in dedication to him. Difficult not to be at least a little bit affected by seeing him up there, plus the game looks great. There was of course that infamous Kojima thing where he introed his new game OD without actually showing anything, and he and Jordan Peele just kind of jerked each other off for 6 minutes. Now listen, I'm as big a Kojima simp as you'll ever meet, but I won't lie, this section kind of sucked. If you're going to reveal a game, then show me some game, not show me some actors doing facial capture. I'm sure I'll love it when I get to play it eventually or see some of it, but for now I kind of just wish this segment didn't go down quite the way that it did. One of the best moments of the show was when Sean Murray got up there to debut his new game, Light No Fire. It was the first time he debuted a new thing since he got completely carried away debuting the last thing. We were all on the edge of our seats hoping history wouldn't repeat itself, but then he said this.
Another game. Yeah, something very different, something maybe more ambitious.
I shit you not, when he said this, I was in the audience and everyone around me was like, oh my god, did he just say that? He would later go on to make self-deprecating tweets about his penchant for overpromising, to which the official Cyberpunk Twitter handle responded, quote, "You can always fix it later." Smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat emoji, end quote. Let me know what you think about that joke in the comment section below. There were a few shadow drops during the show, like the finals, which debuted and has already blown past 250,000 current players on Steam. I'm playing it for myself and it totally rules. Looking forward to talking more about it soon. We got some God of War Ragnarok DLC from out of nowhere and it's dropping very soon, like today. It's out. It's more focused on combat than story, which makes sense given that the storyline was well and truly wrapped up in the main game. But Sony Santa Monica don't half-ass anything, so I'm sure this will be great. Ready or Not is an excellent tactical shooter that's been in early access for a while now and will hit 1.0 tomorrow. Space Marine 2 finally got an official release date and it's September 9th next year, so still a chunky wait for that one. And Ubisoft's utterly cursed Skull and Bones finally has another release date, and this one looks to be for real this time. February 16th next year, sandwiched in an absolutely massive month of releases. The best possible conditions for a game that really does need all the help it can get. 3 big announcements to take us home. The first was Sega's new groove, which is really their old groove, which is more than fine with me because old school Sega ruled. They showcased a trailer that revealed reboots for 5 iconic franchises: Crazy Taxi,
Really?
Golden
Crazy
Axe,
Taxi,
Jet Set Radio,
Golden
Shinobi,
Axe,
and Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage.
Yes, absolutely
Okay.
yes to all of this, but Sega have had a very patchy release history.
Couldn't you
for the
make new
past
stuff?
2 decades, so we've got to make sure we keep our hype in check on all this. Capcom finally pulled the curtain off Monster Hunter Wilds, follow-up to the
Nice.
breakout smash hit Monster Hunter World that put the game firmly in the mainstream in the West. This time it looks like we can carry 2 weapons at once, and if you know anything about Monster Hunter, you would know that is a very big deal. Biggest surprise of this trailer though was the release date, as various leaks and hints from Capcom HQ put this at a Q1 2024 release. To see this announced as a 2025 release was a genuine shock, but hey, if that's how long they say it's going to take, then fair enough, can't argue with that. I saved the best for last, or at least I think it was the best, certainly the most surprising. We crop in on a Parisian barber nervously giving a man the full service. When shit suddenly gets real, fangs come out, swords get unsheathed, and boom, a Blade game being made by none other than Arcane Studios Leon.
Arcane.
Now, apparently some industry people knew about this, but I had no idea, and I would have bet huge amounts of money that this wouldn't have been true, as the recent Xbox leak published Bethesda's upcoming projects and listed Dishonored 3 on there. So we were all convinced that Dishonored 3 was what Arcane Leon were cooking next, and we all got debated. The spin puts Blade in a stylized polyglot rendition of Paris, and it maintains Arcane's signature art style and aesthetic. It just looks super cool. One of the reasons I liked but didn't love Spider-Man 2 was because it was pretty safe. We've seen many of the superhero stories already, which is why we're getting a little over them. But this character, this angle, this setting, this studio, it all feels totally fresh and I'm super keen for it. But don't expect it anytime soon because word on the street is that it's still very early in development. So yeah, cool those jets for a bit. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the Game Ads 2023. Like I said, I don't think it was a train wreck by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think Jeff and his team could have struck a much better balance between recognition and marketing, especially in a year where some 9,000 developers have lost their jobs. That's
Over
right,
9,000!
It just keeps growing. Like this year when Embracer Group did the thing they said they'd do, close Free Radical Design. Embracer had reformed that studio to work on a reboot of the Time Splitters franchise, but 30 days ago they provided notice that they may close the studio, a requirement of UK law. There was a report from Video Games Chronicle earlier this week that said the closure had been confirmed, but Embracer then denied that, only to then confirm the closure a few days later. Closure has resulted in some 80 people losing their jobs just in time for Christmas, and all because Embracer Group took on an obscene amount of debt when money was cheap and they couldn't get bailed out by the Saudis. Now, hundreds of developers across their network of studios are out of the job, with the promise of many more to follow, as Embracer have said that we should expect more cuts. It's a story from which we experienced the briefest of reprieves when this week Microsoft announced that it was making some of their contract staff a mix of temporary and full-time employees, all of whom would be unionized and would get pay increases of varying amounts. The staff were contracting into Bethesda to do QA work, but now they'll get a shiny new Bethesda employee badge and a union card. They also get a free copy of Starfield. which is the game they were working on as contractors. You gotta wonder if some of the staff are like, I'm good, thanks. I don't know how many people want to play a game after having worked QA on it for like 12 months to 2 years, especially Starfield. Were they the ones exploring all those planets? They'll be like, yep, I can confirm there's absolutely nothing to do on this planet. Tick. And Todd would be like, perfect, ship it. Speaking of Starfield, if you were waiting for the modders to get in there and fix it, it looks like you're going to be waiting a little bit longer. This week, the developer behind the famous Skyrim Together multiplayer mod decided to down tools on the equivalent mod for Starfield. Their reasoning hits pretty hard. Quote, I didn't realize this until after I actually started playing this damn game a week after launch. The game is boring, bland, and the main draw of Bethesda games, exploration in a lively and handcrafted world, was completely gone. Anyways, everyone already knows this. Most people agree there's no need to further repeat the point. Just read any of the dozens of reviews online. That said, I won't be continuing development on Starfield Together. I'm not going to put my heart and soul into a mod for a game as mediocre as this, end quote. Pretty brutal, but far from a fringe opinion at this point. Luckily though, just today, Bethesda have announced they're looking to continue to add new things to Starfield. In a Reddit post, a Bethesda rep said, quote, we're also hard at work on many new features you asked for, from city maps to mod support to all new ways of traveling. Stay tuned. These will be rolling out with a regular cadence of fixes and updates we expect to have roughly every 6 weeks, end quote. The promise of new ways of traveling feels particularly important, as one of the biggest complaints about Starfield is that there's no vehicles to use when you're on the planets. Seems like a pretty big oversight for a game that involves, you know, exploring planets. The promise of mod support is not surprising because Bethesda games have always been about their mods, but do watch the fine print on this one, because this week, and this is true, Bethesda just re-added paid mods to Skyrim. It's true, I felt like I had to read the headline 4 times before it registered, but it's definitely happening.
This is why I've been firing up my Skyrim. I had a weird feeling. I've been playing Skyrim a lot lately, and I had a weird feeling. I got scared when my install got... I wonder what it was when I logged in. Do you guys... I don't know if you guys were there, but I tried to log in Skyrim, and I was completely fucked. My save was gone. And I think that's what it is. I think they illegalized most of the mods I was using, and from the Nexus, and now I have to restart Skyrim entirely, which honestly doesn't really bother me, but it's just like, it sucks, you know. I thought I could use those mods. Now I'm inclined to just do like like, I don't know, like, I want to use like 2 mods. I don't know, I doubt they'll even let me do that. I wanted to I think they want to kill the achievement mod, and they'll do whatever they have to kill it. So like, and that's the mod I want to use, is the achievement mod. So I'm inclined to do like just a vanilla Skyrim with no mods, because they can't take that away from me. And you know, it's good enough on its own. It's all right. I wish I could. I wanted an endless combat battler, and Skyrim actually did that well. It did it well. So I don't know what happens. I want to go look at a video about Skyrim mods. What's going on with Skyrim mods? Because something happened this week. I want to hear it again. I want to hear him talk about it again.
Exploring planets. The promise of mod support is not surprising because Bethesda games have always been about their mods, but do watch the fine print on this one, because this week, and this is true, Bethesda just re-added paid mods to Skyrim. It's true, I felt like I had to read the headline 4 times before it registered, but it's definitely happening. To be fair, it was sort of already happening, but in a much more controlled way that limited the overall mod economy in various ways. In a game update that dropped just last week though, Bethesda essentially threw wide the gates, allowing more people to apply for a status that would let them monetize mods, and relaxing the terms around which mods can and cannot be monetized.
Oh.
So back, baby, from horse armor to the paid mods.
Okay, so but like, so that's what happened though. Like at some point they shut it down, and then my save with all my mods got fucked, and now they're like, oh, okay.
The Creation Club, and now this. Todd got them in there eventually. It was only a matter of time. As for how the community feels,
I like it as an auto battler, and that's it. I guess the storyline, like, I guess I was trying to install a whole bunch of other mods to make the storyline fun, but really all I need is that auto battler, the Ordinator mod, And I don't know, like I don't know, I guess it's not that my install and mods are fucked up. It's that my save was like invalidated for some reason, and I think that's just like the way that I installed the mods. I must have lost my save, is what it is. That's unfortunate because, but the mods are good. I think I don't know if they're installed. I think I had to redo my entire install, but that's all right. A brand new save is not a bad idea. And as a battler with the right run speed and stuff and the right jump speed, like Skyrim is actually super good as an auto battler, kind of like Diablo or something like that. It's actually good. It's good. It's like as good as 76. It's got everything 76 has. It's got all that open and stuff, but it's like kind of like 76, but instead of the guns, it's magic. And with the right mods, like what the communities say of what the magic should be, it's fucking spectacular. Some of those spells are so cool, you know?
Feels about this, they're pissed, but it's a different world today. And
it's a different world now. We have to accept that a lot of this is changing. And we get mad at them for not not staying with, but it's not like it's their job to stay with. I'm actually very happy that they stayed with it. I fall sympathetically to Bethesda when it comes to this stuff, because it's like I'm surprised. Like, okay, if you look at somebody like The Witcher didn't have mods. The Witcher didn't follow that through for 20 years. The Witcher did not have Creation Club or bring the people into the stable. You know, it's an example of you know, but CDPR gets all the love that Bethesda should have got, you know, which is weird because CDPR sucks. Their games suck, you know. Not they don't suck, but they're not on par. And like, I'm just like, you know, it's weird. Like, you can show an example of like we want to get down on Bethesda for canceling stuff, but honestly, I think it was their right to. I'm sorry, it's like in their credit that they worked on it as long and as hard as they did. You know, I think they could have easily just abandoned it and let it go. And but they didn't, and so I want to give them some credit here when I realized that they easily could have been like, no more mods, period. That's entirely within their fucking... They did not have to follow it through this far at all. And that's something that I urge the gamers to remember. They've never had a responsibility at all, to do anything with mods. At all. And that's corpo speak. But that's still, even from an industry standpoint, almost no games do mods. Almost no games do it. They're like, you can mod games that don't want it, but I mean, most games are not acknowledged as it's like a modded game. So like to ride them at all about their decisions with the mods is sort of dumb, because they never had to do mods in the first place.
Business model for games like Roblox and Fortnite, the lens through which we view paid mods is slightly different, providing just enough wiggle room for Bethesda to sneak this one in. This is a very fresh story, so it'll be interesting to see what long-term impacts it has on the game. I will keep you posted. A quick lightning round to finish off. Final Fantasy 16 got some new DLC. 2 DLC drops were announced at the Game Awards, and the first is available right now. The second one is out next year. If you were wondering if we might expect a 16 sequel or spin-off like Square used to do back in the day, then perish the thought, as Yoshi P has nixed the idea in a recent interview with Famitsu. He also spoke briefly about the PC port and said that you should consider an SSD a must, so consider yourself forewarned. Nintendo Live is an event that was meant to take place in Japan in January of next year, but it's been cancelled due to threats directed at Nintendo staff and venue organizers. Nintendo didn't provide any details, but Japan takes these sorts of threats very seriously due to a number of attacks in the past. So yeah, it's a real shame to see it go down this way. Speaking of events, E3 is dead. Again. For like the 85th time.
You say this every week.
For real this time.
You say this every week.
Posted up a brief JPEG being like, thanks for the good times, peace. And that was it. The book closed on 20 years of history. The king is dead.
Yep, E3's
Long
dead.
live the king.
I never liked it in the first place.
Epic released Lego Fortnite this week.
Bye.
And it hit over 2.3 million concurrent players. 2.3 million. Counter-Strike is the biggest game on Steam, and it peaks at an average of around 1.2 million. Lego Fortnite is one game mode in Fortnite, which is absolutely nuts. But to be fair, I actually played Lego Fortnite, and let me tell you, it is fantastic, and I really recommend checking it out because it genuinely rules. Speaking of Fortnite, Steven Datillo of Axios asked Epic if they were still trying to get Mario into Fortnite. Epic responded, quote, I don't know what the word for like making diamonds is... ... end quote. I don't know the word either, my man, but I feel you, and you are totally right. It is never going to happen. So besides all that TGA craziness, what else got announced or delayed this week? Well, New Cycle is a game revealed just a little bit ago. It's an ambitious looking city builder set in the post-apocalypse. Exclusive to United 1944 is a World War II shooter that releases into early access on December 12th. This isn't just a straight deathmatch, mind you. It's got weapon crafting, some base building stuff, perk trees, and more. The focus is 16v16 combat, but yeah, don't expect just the pew, pew, pew. One announcement from last week that I missed because there was just too much shit going on was the return of Firefight to Halo. For those unaware, Firefight is a horde-based PvE mode where you and up to 3 mates can just grind through increasingly numerous waves of Covenant forces, pushing as hard as you can until you're almost inevitably overwhelmed. This is a pretty beefy addition to Halo Infinite since it features 9 maps. If this were Bungie and those were PvP maps, it'd take them roughly 45 years to release the same amount of content. So hats off to 343, I guess. It's a drop that continues to edge Halo's player count ever upwards, sitting at around 8,000 current players peak, up from a low of 2.7k just a year ago. 343 are putting in the work, and it's working.
Oh,
Always
damn
nice
it.
to see these sorts of comeback stories, especially for a franchise as important as Halo. Outcast: A New Beginning picks up where the series left off 24 years ago. It was one of the first open world games of its kind, but it never quite made the splash that other titles did. THQ Nordic are hoping that that'll change when they release A New Beginning on March 15th. It looks interesting, kind of like Xenoblade Chronicles, but with a jetpack. And it looks a little janky, but hey, I guess that's part of the charm. Finally, one delay announcement this week, and it's for Alone in the Dark. Now, this had already been delayed. It was due out in October before THQ Nordic looked at how stacked that month was and was like, nope. They moved it to the back end of January, but just this week they announced it'll arrive on March 22nd. They said they needed more time to polish and wanted to be able to enjoy their Christmas break stress-free. And I say, good on them. Much respect to any developer who puts quality time off in the holiday period over an arbitrary release date. Even better, they didn't delay it to February like every single other game. So thanks THQ. Only problem is now you're competing with Dragon's Dogma 2 and Rise of the Ronin. So
Dragon's Dogma 2.
So what came out last week was, you might recall, it was the last big week of the year when it came to both announcements and releases. Can't cover them all here, but let's knock over some of the more interesting ones. A Highland Song kicks this off. It's the narrative and musical-led game from the team behind an excellent 80 Days. Unsurprisingly, this is meant to be great too. Only 86 reviews up on Steam at the time of writing, but that's 96% very positive. Critics are also on board with this one, scoring at a strong 80 on OpenCritic. PC Gamer were one of the more critical reviews, scoring at a 71 and saying, quote, a mismatched mix of genres grafted onto a moving, beautifully presented story, end quote. While God is a Geek speaks to that upper end of the spectrum with their 9 out of 10 score, quote, a Highland Song is such a beautiful game whether you find its charm in the soundtrack, gorgeous visuals, or wonderful story, end quote. Disney Dreamlight Valley emerged from early access into 1.0 this week. Much like the early access period, people really liked it. It's sitting at mostly positive 79% on Steam. Critics at a similar spot with a strong 76 on OpenCritic, though those scores are mostly from the early access period. Still, the game appears to have only gotten better since then, so it looks like a pretty safe pickup if you or the little ones are down for some town life cozy game fun. The Sonic Dream Team is that all-new Sonic game exclusive to the iOS via the Apple Arcade. It looked pretty cool, and it turns out it kind of is. Only a few reviews up for this one, but most of them are in that 8 out of 10 space, like IGN, who said of it, quote, superb level design and bite-sized missions make Sonic Dream Team one of the most fun, creative, and enjoyable 3D platformers I've played in a long time, end quote. That's some very high praise indeed. Maybe worth slinging Apple a few bucks to check this one out if you can't wait for it to arrive on other platforms in 6 to 12 months' time. The Anacrusis has been in early access for a little while now, and as I mentioned before, it hasn't made much of an impact. A real shame because it's from at least some of the people behind Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, but it just doesn't seem possessed of the same spark and imagination. I was hopeful that the 1.0 release might have changed that narrative, but apparently not. The game currently sits at a mixed 64% on Steam. IGN were really the only major outlet to review this one post 1.0, and they were not kind, scoring it a 4 out of 10 and saying, quote, the Anacrusis is a co-op shooter with remarkably few surprises and surprisingly unremarkable gunplay, end quote. If this one is going to go the distance, it seems like it's still going to need a lot more work. We'll see if the developer has the stomach and pockets for it. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader arrived on all platforms bar the Switch last week. It's just about as good as everyone expected it to be, which is to say, it's very good, though it's not without its issues. It's sitting at a very positive 83% on Steam, which is great. Critics are in a similar spot, scoring at a strong 77 on OpenCritic. There is a bit of spread in the reviews though. At the bottom end of the spectrum, you've got PC Gamer, who didn't love it, scoring at a 59 and saying, quote, Rogue Trader gets 40k's atmosphere right, but it's buggy and the rules are a mess, end quote. Reviews generally top out at the 8 out of 10 mark, like Gaming Bolt, who scored it an 8, saying, quote, paying extensive homage to the source material while weaving a compelling tale of its own, Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader is an involving experience with fun combat and memorable characters, end quote. So there you go. I think thirsty Warhammer nerds were going to grab this one anyway. Most of the reviews point to it standing on its own 2 feet as a solid CRPG, so maybe check this one out if you're looking to fill that large Baldur's Gate 3 sized hole in your heart. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Let me tell you, I'm glad to see this one landed so well. UB Massive have worked their asses off for years on this one, and with the stakes being what they were, it's nice to see they've landed this bird. Or Ikron, I guess I should say. It's not an incredible must-play game, but it's solid open-world fodder for most of us, and a must-play for die-hard Avatar fans out there. There are dozens of you. Austin is one of those people, and he really liked it. Link to his review below the like button.
Yeah, I watched that.
Commentariat were a mix of positive and ambivalent. It does sit at a fair 70 on OpenCritic with very little variation in the score. Almost every man and his die horse scored this one a 7 or an 8, like GameSpot, who scored it an 8 and said, quote, though it includes a lot of familiar open-world elements, a minimalistic user experience, fun movement mechanics, and a gorgeous setting, make it a blast to explore Pandora, end quote. Press Start summed it up well with their 7 out of 10 review saying, quote, fans of the franchise will absolutely adore exploring everything this previously unexplored side of Pandora has to offer. Just don't expect it to reinvent the wheel, end quote. A couple of VR and mixed reality titles now. First is Arizona Sunshine, which hit all VR platforms last week. It had big shoes to fill, as the first game was one of the best VR showcases. The sequel doesn't seem to be hitting quite the same highs, but it's meant to be pretty good. It's sitting at a mostly positive 72% on Steam, with critics putting it slightly above that at a strong 77 on OpenCritic. Attack of the Fanboy scored at 3.5 stars and said, quote, you'll have a good enough time with Arizona Sunshine 2, but for the sequel to one of VR's greatest, it's hard to walk away without feeling like it could have been something more, end quote. Most of the other reviews are more favorable, tending to that 8 out of 10 mark, most of them commenting that this is a perfectly solid title so long as you aren't expecting anything too breakthrough or innovative. I'll tell you what is breakthrough though, Lego Brick Tales, which just arrived on the Meta Quest 3. Now I've actually been playing this one and it is fantastic. A truly brilliant showcase of what's possible with both VR and mixed reality. You're looking at these beautifully constructed Lego scenes, only these scenes are like in your lounge room. You can pick up the whole scene and put it on your coffee table should you choose. You can move in and see so much more detail up close. You become like some giant floating head in the sky, staring down at your Lego subjects being like, show me what you've got. And I haven't even got to the building. It feels like playing with Lego, it really does. You're just clicking stuff together and building different things however you please. It's fantastic, truly. I know Meta Quest 3 uptake isn't huge at the moment, but if you happen to have one of these headsets, you truly owe it to yourself to give it a look. It's wonderful, and I'm not the only one that thinks that, by the way. Critics put this at a strong 85 on OpenCritic, 8s, 9s, and firm handshakes across the board. Gaming Nexus wrote it up well when they said, quote, Lego Brick Tales VR pulls off an amazing trick, allowing you to play with gorgeous Lego sets, floating around in your own home through the magic of mixed reality, detailed and beautiful while still being a fun and challenging game. I can't think of a better way to show off VR to stubborn non-believers. The potential of what is on display here is limitless, end quote. Cannot believe Lego shipped 2 bangers in 1 week. Good job, Lego. Keep it up. So what's coming out this week? Well, anime fighting fans, you guys are getting Grand Blue Fantasy Versus Rising for the PS4, 5, and PC. It's the same 2D fighter that the series has always been, only now it features the option for more simplified inputs, similar to what many modern fighters are offering these days, as well as an island lobby experience where you and some mates can mess around with Fall Guys style challenges. Looks cute, looks fun, and it arrives tomorrow. Do you watch all those terrible reality TV shows about fixing houses, stuffing them full of IKEA furniture, and then flipping them for an insane profit? Well, have I got the game for you? House Flipper 2 arrives for PC tomorrow. To be fair, the first one is actually really popular and has great reviews on Steam, so if home improvement is something that floats your boat, then this likely will too. Not for Broadcast is a really fascinating and award-winning game about policing information in real time. You're a producer working in the booth during live television, and it's your job to beep the swears and anything else the powers that be don't want heard. A truly unique premise that garnered a buttload of critical praise when it released last year, and tomorrow it's getting a PSVR 2 port. That port has been available on PC for a little while now. Palia is another one of those town-life sim games. It had an open beta on PC a little while ago and met a pretty mixed reception, many people commenting that it was just kind of a little bit dull, a little lifeless, not adding much to the genre. Maybe that's changed since then, I don't know. Hard to find much chatter about it these days, but we'll surely see a little more coverage this week when the game arrives on Switch tomorrow. It is free to play. Speaking of Switch, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Hidden Treasures of Area Zero, the Indigo Disc DLC launches tomorrow. Yeah, man, Game Freak absolutely need to be banned from naming things. What the hell is that title? And finally, one more VR title to finish up on. Big week for VR, actually. Asgard's Wrath 2 arrives exclusive to the Meta Quest 3 headset on the 15th. Now, this is actually a pretty big deal because the first one was and is the preeminent VR RPG experience. It was a game built from the ground up for VR, so it wasn't a port of Fallout or Skyrim or whatever, and it was really ambitious for its time, offering a really involved melee combat system, cutting-edge visuals, and a campaign some 25 hours long. The sequel is promising to be bigger and better by every metric, especially since this is the flagship title for the Meta Quest 3 headset, with Meta literally bundling a free copy of it with every purchase of the headset. It's looking promising, and given that I've got one of these headsets, I'll certainly be checking it out when it drops later this week. There's one other game dropping this week, so put this on your radar. This is Trinity Fusion, and it's a Metroidvania roguelike from indie studio Angry Mob Games. It's actually been in early access since April of this year, and in that time it's managed to rack up 90% very positive reviews on Steam. I think
yes! Oh, look at that! Oh, that's awesome! Wow. Gotta get home. I'm so glad I went out. Oh, yeah.
Each of them so unique in their design. But most importantly,
helps
the
quite a
combat
bit.
looks legit. The option to fight both up close or at range, plenty of different abilities in the mix, and some absolutely fantastic animations making the whole thing look super smooth. And that's setting aside the roguelike elements, which allow you to shape a build that will transform the way you play every single time. It really does look pretty great, and given how positive the early access reception has been, there's every reason to be hopeful that the team sticks the landing on this when it launches into 1.0 tomorrow. If you'd like to grab it or even just wishlist it for later, I've profiled it over on my Steam Curator page, which also has links to all of the other put this on your radar stuff I've recently covered. I'll leave a link to all of that below the like button. Sort of free stuff time now, and since we're in the middle of the month, there isn't a huge amount to report. Epic still have that Kaiju Brawler Gigabash on there, as well as predecessor, the resurrected and repurposed Paragon, brought back to life by a dedicated team. As for what's next from Epic, it's a mystery, but let me tell you, when they list it as a mystery, it's usually a good thing, as Epic likes to keep their more exciting giveaways under wraps until the moment of release. Keep an eye out for that dropping soon, but don't worry, if you forget, the section ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Only other shout this week is for Prime Gaming, who are continuing their Bethesda giveaway run by handing out Deathloop, sort of free to anyone who has an Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime subscription.
Yeah.
Deathloop is complicated. Not a great game in my view, but a legit Game of the Year contender for many others. Easily the most divisive title in Arcane's portfolio, and if you've been looking for a chance to make
no,
up
it
your
isn't.
mind about it, well,
no, it isn't. Well, divisive, yeah. Divisive, yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
At the very least, you get to experience what this team made before they started working on Blade. And given how much connective tissue there is between all of their games, it'd be very interesting to see how much the classic Arcane formula Blade ends up inheriting. Our feel-good story for the week takes us back to the heady days of last week, when the GTA 6 trailer was loosed upon the world. For all of its impressive visual spectacle and excellent characterization, there was one aspect of the trailer that really stood out, and that is the way it managed to perfectly capture the Floridian experience. Miami, the beaches, the cars, crocodiles in pools, twerking, crocodiles in 7-Elevens, more twerking. The whole thing felt like it was pulled straight from the real-life history of a state affectionately referred to as America's penis. Perhaps it was a little too close to reality though. Blink and you'll miss it, but at one moment in the trailer, this purple-haired gentleman appeared on screen. If he looks...
Yeah, that's Florida
familiar,
man.
it's because he might, allegedly, be based on this actual man, lovingly dubbed Florida Joker after his mugshot went viral some years ago. Florida Joker happened to catch the trailer reveal, and he is none too...
I watched a whole thing on this. There was like a Florida Joker man and a Florida Batman. And the Florida Joker man had like hoes and he was like a pimp. And the fucking Batman guy was like this weird guy. And they were like in this weird culture war. I think that was Andrew Callahan with Channel 5. And they went and talked to the Florida Joker man.
Happy about Rockstar using his likeness.
And like the Florida Joker man was in this war with Batman. Like in reality. And Batman was trying to stop him. It was just crazy. It was like, but it was reality. It was like,
about it if Rockstar were willing to part with a small amount of money. Take a listen.
We gotta talk, GTA. We gotta talk.
We gotta talk.
Or not, you gotta give me like a mil or two.
Give me a mil or two. What's up?
How
Yeah,
about
he's
GTA,
right.
Rockstar.
Yeah,
Rockstar
this is
Games,
not your
Rockstar
visage.
Enterprise.
Yep. Okay, you better step if you're gonna use this likeness. You better pay. You better fucking pay, man. You be best step with $1 million, or you about to lose about a 50. About to lose 50. You better pay him today. Better pay him, step and pay him like $1 million and shit. Better pay him. Yeah.
Ain't having that. Y'all took my likeness.
Yeah, you took his likeness, yeah.
So there you have it. $1 or $2 million, and Florida Joker is a happy camper. Not too much to ask for, right?
No.
I don't think so.
I think you better pay him.
I'm all but certain that
I think you better
Rockstar's
pay
lawyers
him.
are writing this man a check.
Check
as we
right
speak.
now,
And
yeah.
by check, I mean they're probably going to
Like,
sue him
probably
for
like-
thinking about asking for money. So best of luck to you, Florida Joker. You're definitely going to need it. All right,
I think
ladies
they should pay him. I think he's got a slam dunk case. If he takes that to court, they'll lose. I bet they pay him. If they take that to court with him, they'll sue him for threatening them and extorting them. But they'll lose a big lawsuit having to do with the likeness, which is way worse for them. They could lose like $100 million on that. What the fuck?
Like I said, do expect the day before video very soon. I have
This
been
person's
playing
life.
it. I'm hesitant to
I'm
call
sorry, but I know you guys want to laugh at that guy or whatever for his face stats or whatever, but that person's life is not a fucking joke that you can use in your fucking game to satirize like Florida. That person's life is not a fucking joke. And be ready to fucking pay him. If he steps in court with you, he'll win. No jury in the land will side with Rockstar. When they look at the two fucking pictures, they'll be like, yeah, no, you stole his likeness. Because you did steal his likeness. Like,
the game, because that feels unfair to the word game. Outside of that, I hope you enjoyed yourself in this video. If you did, then do remember to hit the like button,
gotta get
slap the
nails.
subscribe button, and
I'm going
hit
out
on
when the sun
notification
rises.
bell. It makes a nice sound when you do that. We've got one more proper news show left for the year before we do our end of year news wrap up. Will I recommend 2023? I don't know, to be honest. This year's been pretty crazy. That's a problem for another day, though. For now,
I think it was the best year in gaming in a long, long time. WoW got fucking like remastered and redone and stuff. SoD was good. Baldur's Gate 3 was good. There's been like a lot. I found my calling this year. I don't know. I think it was fairly good. I enjoyed it. Remnant 2, despite it feeling like a ripoff in the end, I thought was a really good game. There was a lot of good games this year. Yeah, I would say it was a good year. Yeah, last year I did not think so. Last year we were like, oh, thank God COVID's over and the games have stopped sucking, and
And a big thanks to this week's sponsor.
Why are they on
Eureka
stage?
Ergonomic. Alright, well, Eureka Ergonomics takeover of my home and office continues. Both Austin and I are rocking their excellent standing desks. I just upgraded to one of their chairs, more on that later in the video. You might also have seen the new coffee table, which doubles as a sneaky fridge. This is literally my favorite piece of furniture that I've ever owned, no word of a lie. But this week, I just got one new addition to the office, and it's this bad boy,
Wow.
the Eureka
Girl
Ergonomic
repellent.
display cabinet. See, if you're anything like me, then you've got a few collectibles laying around. Too many, in fact. Many of them have to sit in boxes or be given away to friends, but some of them make the cut, earning coveted shelf space.
Nice.
Well, now that shelf space just got a big upgrade, because the Curio display cabinet not only has plenty of room for some of your favorite stuff, but it also features adjustable LED lighting. It doesn't do anything, it doesn't make your collectibles come to life, sadly, but it does look cool, and it's just a really striking way to profile some of your favorite stuff, be it figurines, old handhelds, Blu-ray box sets, books, or whatever else you're particularly proud of. The Curio display cabinet comes in 2 different size options and features anti-scratch wood and aluminium frames. It's super easy to put together, and the cable management is very clean, remains entirely hidden behind the unit. It's also got a companion app allowing you to control the lighting remotely and even set timers for when it turns on or off. It's the perfect example of what Eureka are all about. They make furniture, but for people who like a bit of technology snuck in there. The coffee table is another example.
I should just go make
a table, a
fucking-
fridge, a wireless charger, and
I was
even
gonna
a
buy
Bluetooth
this, but there's
speaker.
really no reason.
Eureka understands that we're a different generation, and we want our furniture to come with technology that is clever and convenient. That's what sets Eureka apart, and I really recommend checking out their product lineup because there's sure to be something in there that you'll like. To do that, visit eurekaergonomic.com/skillup, and if you do that soon, you'll be in luck because Eureka Ergonomic are currently offering holiday deals with discounts up to 58% off some of their best products. That is the lowest price of the year by far. This is a limited time offer, so be sure to check it out. There are financing options available as well if you'd like to pay in installments instead of all up front, but do note that conditions apply. The holiday sale is strictly for a limited time, so you better get in quick. That's eurekaergonomic.com/skillup. Thanks Eureka for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.
1600, not bad. I like this song. I like this song a lot. I could do a song. I could rap to this song. Okay, so we're going out now that the sun rose, and I'm going to focus on the game. Okay, and yeah, I don't want to AFK out on that. Serpents and such. Oh, I got the serpent, so it's actually lightning gland from... Do I need those things? No. I don't know where the rest of this is. It's like over there, I guess, they say. The Kodos are kind of hard to find. Yep, see, they're being taken. Where am I right now? I'm inside the base. Yep. I need food. But I'm like out of money. I should vendor this mace just for the silver to buy food. I think I'm gonna. I mean, it's a nice mace, but actually, it seems like it might have a lot of spear. It might be worth a lot. Yeah, it's not much more than the vendor, though. I'll go back to town now. It's a long walk down here. It's kind of annoying. But yeah, I kind of need food. I can't really get by without it.
Started watching YouTube, pranks were one of the most interesting things on the platform. The genre of YouTube pranking had absolutely blown up, with creators like FouseyTube, Roman Atwood, Joey Salads, Vitali, Sam Pepper, and overall like this giant list of other content creators who had become extremely famous off of pranks and social experiments, and they all sort of came up at the same time as well. There was like a big wave of successful prank creators that really blew up around 2014, 15, 16, and they were absolutely killing it. It was probably the biggest genre on the platform at that time. Now at the time, I was absolutely a straight up hater on all of these guys. I despised them in every single video they'd ever made, mostly because there was a lot of commentary channels at the time who criticized them, and honestly I was kind of a sheep. Looking back, some of the content was actually pretty funny. I honestly like seeing Roman Atwood do stuff like hood pranks swear. There's this one he did that was so ballsy where he pretended to like steal a bunch of hood people's gas, and they would just come up to him and like threaten to, or literally like just beat him up on video. That was pretty funny. But it's obviously not super hard to see why these guys became so controversial at the time. From Joey Salads paying black people to destroy a Trump sticker car to make them look like savages basically, to FouseyTube's constant scandals and basically pathological lying, to Vitaly having a mental breakdown while on drugs and beating up a jogger. There were a lot of controversies back in the day that sort of cut off the flow of blood to the prank genre overall, and made them look like complete scumbags overall. The media is always trying to go after YouTube and make YouTubers look bad, and obviously they had a pretty good excuse at that point in time, with a lot of controversies and scandals coming out of the prank genre. Around that time, a lot of them started moving on to greener pastures, like Roman Atwood, for example, who moved on from really being a prankster to being more of a family vlogger type of guy. FouseyTube kept being kind of a lunatic. He did get better for a little while, and then he got like knocked out by Bryce Hall, and then obviously recently started streaming again, and that was absolutely insane when he did that. Vitaly seems like he actually turned his life around after the whole jogger thing, which is pretty nice to see. But the original pranksters of YouTube really moved on to different pastors and decided to do completely different things because realistically pranking, you know, for all this time was just not very sustainable. Commentary channels had won. They had their little field day watching these channels fade into obscurity. But in this content drought, in this land of like nothing going on, no good content, no good pranks going on, one man stood in the middle of it all, shining like a star, and decided to bring prank content back from the dead in a way that I think a lot of people expected it would never happen. He wanted to leave his mark on YouTube in a way that would be remembered for generations, basically. Jadion started his YouTube channel in July of 2018 when he was still in high school. He clearly was inspired by other pranksters from back in the day, but I will say he had a much less confrontational and sort of toxic attitude than the rest of those guys, and he was honestly a more likable person in general. He wasn't looking to punk anyone or make them look bad. He was just trying to make a funny video by interacting with people in public, which I think is what like a harmless prank ideally should be. You know, you mess with people a little bit, but there's no real harm going on. You're not really hurting anyone's feelings, and ideally that's, you know, the ideal prank channel in my mind. One of his first videos was titled, "I Got Suspended for Hustling at My School," and it's basically about him buying soda at the grocery store to then sell it in the school cafeteria in an attempt to cut into the profit margins of the school and take some of it for himself.
I mean, they got a school store at our school, and they're buying that control, you know? So why not? You know, why not we cut into the profit, you know?
Yeah, 75 cents. School charges $1. 75 cents, and I got quarters. I got dollars. I get 75 cents. Here's your quarter. 75 cents. Here's your quarter. You got $1. 75 cents. Why not? Buy for $1, sell for $2.
I want to do different ventures and stuff.
Yeah.
Do different things, show my growth.
Why not?
And I'm hoping by the end of this, man, I'm a multi-millionaire. You never know.
I actually find this video kind of relatable because one of the first videos I uploaded to my YouTube channel like 6 years ago was called Selling in School. And it was like this animated story time video where I talked about selling things in school to try and make some extra cash when I was like 10 years old.
I had earned $160, and there was no way that I would give up all of that hard work. So what I ended up doing is telling her that I made just $30 selling the comics and fun packs, and she was like, whatever, seems legit. And so I handed back $30 to some of the kids who she watched, and went home with the other $130 in my pencil case. And I totally spent it on something worthwhile.
What a
Imagine how much more
nerd.
innocent I would have been if I just kept making these silly little terrible animations. Instead, I decided to be a commentary channel, which is good. It is actually good. It's freaking based. Well, in any case, I bring this up to say that I'm exactly like Jadion, and we're basically the same guy. I mean, apart from our shared African heritage, the fact that we're also hustling in public and school, trying to make a quick buck. God damn, guys, it's really a small world out here. You never know who you could end up relating to. Life is just beautiful like that sometimes. Amazing Grace starts playing. I'm kissing a guy on video. Well, even in this first old video, Jadion gets suspended from school for selling on school grounds.
Alright, y'all. So, got the principals with me right here, you know. Got busted and everything. It's all good. Got anything you want to say? No? Nah, it's all good, though. We got busted. We're going to have to turn these in real quick. So, that's the end of this video. So, shit. You guys want to hit me up next time? You can. Forge it on. I'm out.
And the funniest part is that he then starts filming the assistant principal and like punking on her a little bit, and she's like, nah, I ain't gonna be on video, bruh. Overall, seems like a pretty creative guy. He has a surprisingly good personality on camera for someone who was just starting out on YouTube at the time. He wasn't like a known name at all. I mean,
Yeah, my personality is still really bad, and it's not going to get better either. And it'll never be good. I'm not one of these high-class people that are making all this money. I'll never be like that, I don't think, because I don't have the personality. I got the personality. I don't have the non-rough edges. Fucking, I will scream at a motherfucker. I don't care.
high school, probably getting less than 1,000 views a video. And I think even back then you can tell this guy had a lot of potential. He had a big opportunity for upward mobility in the YouTube space. One of his best early videos is titled Does Size Matter? And he basically just walks around a mall with a few of his friends asking girls that question. And some of the responses are pretty funny. And at the same time, Jadion also adds some funny edits in there to make these ratchet women look even more dumb. It's pretty epic, honestly it is.
Alright, this is a very important question, y'all, so I need you guys to be serious, okay? Does size matter?
Yes.
Okay, what is your preferable size?
Yes.
So, what's the lowest you would go?
I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Man, so you see, would you go for a 4?
Probably not.
By spring of 2019, Jadion started to gain some serious traction on YouTube, and he reached 100,000 subscribers in September of 2019. Not too shabby for just a year on the platform. I mean, that's a good amount of subs. But he was just getting started. Jadion was not afraid to be edgy by making videos like giving strangers the N-word pass, where they went to a mall and handed out these little slips of paper. It's beautiful, you know? You see someone do something so generous for the people, it just fills your heart with warmth. Thankfully, Jadion did mail me a few thousand passes, so rest assured, if you guys ever catch me stunting, you know there's a reason I've been stocking up on these passes, okay? I'm ready. I've been preparing for the winter. I'm like a squirrel. Call me Alvin and the Chipmunk of gamer words because I'm storing them all up for the winter, and in the summer, they're coming out. Just kidding. That's meta-ironic.
Excuse me. Right here. We belong to you. You got black culture in you. You gotta let me go with one of these though before I can let you do that. All right, man. You gotta say it. It's a pass. You gotta say. Look, you can say, all right, my end. All right. We know what is what you say.
Through videos like this, his channel would grow to the point where he reached 1 million subscribers in August of 2021. Then he reached 2 million, 3 million, and even 4 million very quickly to the point where now his channel has almost 8 million subscribers. And if you look at his channel, you can see he was extremely successful for a long time, regularly doing videos that were getting 5 to 10 million views. He was making hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars every single month. When he would get into drama with someone, it wouldn't be a small or mid-tier YouTuber. It would be Logan Paul, who he had a big beef with for a while there. And this basically started when Jadion was at a UFC fight with Logan Paul, and Logan was watching it near the front of the cage. And at some point, Logan asked Jadion to move away from him because he didn't want to be filmed. Basically, he said he was tired of being on video all day and just wanted to hang out with Nina with his gat.
I can just take that. I'm going to just stay here. I'll just switch with Chris. Huh? No. I'm going to just stay here. Oh, push you know what I'm saying?
What the fuck?
Honestly, Logan seemed fine to me here. I know he got a lot of for this, but it seemed like this shouldn't be a bigger thing. Like he's just tired of being on video.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I would not want to be on camera without my permission. No.
I mean, obviously he is at a public event, it's widely publicized, so maybe he shouldn't be complaining about it too much. But at the same time, if he knows Jadion and he just doesn't want to be filmed at the moment, I feel like it's perfectly fine for him to politely ask him not to do that.
Yeah, I'd be
he just
like,
wanted to hang out and not have a camera and a microphone in his face all night.
Yeah.
This would become bigger when Jake Paul filmed himself basically dissing Jadion while his brother was around.
Thank you for coming to today's interview. I know you don't do a lot of interviews, so thank you for being here today. Yo. Can you move to your left a little? I'm not fucking Jadion. Just because we want to let Zach sit down, and you're kind of taking up his space. Do I look like Jadion? Huh? I'm your own fucking brother. I'm not a fanboy like Jadion, who's like, oh yes, Logan. Oh yes, Logan. I'm your own brother, bro. We can go toe to toe. Oh my. This is what the happens
And so from there, Gideon sees this and he decides to pull out some old lore from Logan and Jake. So back in the day, Jake dated this girl named Alyssa Violet, and she was a part of Team 10. She was actually pretty famous in her own right. She was kind of a phenomenon for a while there. And at some point, I think that Jake cheated on her a few times, and to get back at him, she decided to sleep with his brother, Logan. And Logan Paul then brought this up in a diss track he made, saying that she was all up on his goddamn BWC. He said she was slobbing on it, she was slobbering on it, she was getting ready to take it. She was built for BWC even. And obviously that's a sore spot for the family, and the Paul legacy was a bit tainted there. And Gideon, knowing this very well, just could not resist pulling it out of his back pocket when Jake disrespected him. He basically brought it up on stream and was like, hey yo, why'd you let your brother feel
Oh, okay, Jake. You can go toe-to-toe with your brother, alright? So, Jake, why didn't you keep the same energy when he f***ed your girlfriend while you were still dating her? That's the only... That's my... I'm puzzled. I'm dumbfounded. I'm searching for the answers. I wish I could go back in history to ask all the old historians about this question. Why didn't you do anything about it when Logan f***ed your girlfriend? You did nothing about it. You cried to Shane Dawson. You cried to Shane Dawson.
I mean, he owned him. He f***ing destroyed him. He was at the club, bottoms up when I first met you. That was epic. And this is part of what made Gideon so entertaining in my eyes. Not only was he doing very raunchy content, but he was also willing to engage in drama and throw shit at other people when he felt like it would be funny. Even someone as famous as Logan Paul, who a lot of people would not really want to be in drama, with. Almost no channel with over 5 million subscribers engages in shit talk like he did. And they definitely did not want to get as personal as he did as well, like bringing up, old relationship drama from Jake and Logan and Alyssa. Another time he got into some hot water was the time he got banned on Twitch for inciting a hate raid against Pokimane, our beautiful queen. Mwah. We love Pokimane on this channel so much. Basically, he was on stream and saw that she was also live streaming, and he didn't like her very much, and let's be honest, she is pretty annoying. But he decided to send this chat to mess with her.
Yeah.
They just randomly were baby.
Ray, that ridiculous cat. That ridiculous dick.
So fast.
Out of a movie.
Dude, you were schmooving, man. That was insane.
Or just bot? What do I do? Let's see, what do I
I think I merely buy the best gun in the game.
Who is Gideon? Okay.
Yeah, who is Gideon?
There's no way someone... I can't believe you could just E whenever you want before the round starts.
Right?
That's so fun.
There's no way I do Megalol.
I hear
what am I
A.
seeing the spam?
One out in the bathroom.
Jet is
I'm gonna move. I'm going. One already U-Haul-ish, I think.
Thank God my life is not like this. I'm so happy. I couldn't do it. There's no way. I mean, I could do it, but...
And he also made sure to show his audience the Pokimane classic N-word clip.
The asteroid is defeated.
Is this even her? Is this not her? I feel like I've never really gotten a real answer as if this is actually a video of her ripping it out. Either way,
I've never used
right there.
N-word.
And so after he got banned, instead of taking it lying down, first he did a collaboration with Pokimane. He succumbed to the enemy. Guys, I think we lost him. It's over. Patriots, we're not in control. But he did also go to TwitchCon even though he was banned, which was pretty funny as well. Overall, he's one of the more funny and talented people to come onto the YouTube scene in the last few years. But as you guys know, and as I already made a video about, Gideon has actually decided to quit YouTube. And I don't mean just stop posting for a while. I don't mean take a break. I don't mean like just go chill out and then come back soon. He's decided to entirely quit YouTube on his main channel to become a Christian YouTuber on another channel called Gideon, with the G being for God. And he posted a video titled Say Goodbye to Gideon, where he explained how he had all the money in the world, he had all the fans in the world, but he didn't feel spiritually fulfilled in life. He didn't feel happy. He was basically chasing a lot of hedonistic, meaningless, fleeting pleasure, when what he wanted is something more long-term and fulfilling, and to him that is Christianity. He said he thought his videos were not helping people in the way that they could be, and that with this platform he needs to be thinking more long-term about how we can use it for good rather than for his own personal gain.
I know the videos give you guys confidence to be your guys' self in public. I know it helped you guys through the darkest times in your life, and you guys can count on my videos to cheer you up whenever the world was just beating down on you. But I'm gonna just be honest with you guys, man. My videos are just a band-aid. My videos can't help solve your guys' deeper problems, and I'm so grateful that my videos were able to help put a band-aid over some of your guys' wounds, man. But I want you guys to take the initiative and heal the wound itself, to entirely heal it, because Us as content creators, we just can't do that, man. And we'll never be able to do that. You feel me? We can't fill that void for you guys, and we can't always be there for you guys. There's only one person that can always be there for y'all, and that's Jesus Christ.
Now, I would be lying if I said I was a Christian and I was like into this message because, well, I'm just not. I kind of wish I was, to be honest, but I have a very hard time believing in God as someone who's just never experienced any kind of like religious fervor or anything. I've never felt God's power. I kind of want to though, but I just never have. But I've had a lot of friends tell me who are Christian. I'll try to get them to explain it to me, and they usually have a hard time explaining to me how they have felt God's power or something. It seems to be something very spiritual, ethereal, beneath the surface that's hard to describe. And I personally just never felt that, I guess. And I wish I could, because I want to feel that greater purpose, but I've just never been able to feel that really.
I'm a man for science. The science doesn't support
But
it.
Jadeon apparently has been feeling God's power for
Simple
quite some
enough to
time.
understand.
He feels it to the point where he's quitting his multi-million-dollar business to make content only about God and about the Bible and about Christianity.
Science doesn't
which is
support
undoubtedly
it.
not going to make the same amount of money, or even 1% of what he was making on his channel just a few short months ago. In fact, he's probably going to be losing money on this channel entirely. But he wants to go down this path and give up everything he has worked for to go on this new path of being a Christian YouTuber. And I mean, it's nice to see, but it is just like, wow. You almost never. I mean, not almost never. I've never seen
From
someone
prank
get
to
the level of
Jesus
he's at,
tuber.
which is like the
That's
1%,
funny.
You know, top creators in the world, and then decide to quit
Cool.
to do Bible study basically on stream. Now he's actually been expressing feeling bad about YouTube for a while now. For example, he did this
Yeah.
stream where he ended up crying, saying that he felt like he was compromising his character and his morals to the YouTube, and he felt bad about that because he was chasing money above all else, and that just was not right for him, and he felt bad.
And then it just had me thinking, bro, like I'm compromising my morals. It doesn't mean nothing, bro. Like NFL, you feel me? Like, bro.
Nah. That's what it takes, bro. That's what it takes. It's like he realizing, like,
This
bro,
guy.
I like that, bro. I like that, bro.
I do too.
He's realizing what he's going through, or he's getting big and like that.
Yep.
All these ads want to do this and do that. Chat, I don't know if y'all understand. I've done turned down so many ads. Wanna know why? Because I hate doing them.
Clearly, Jadeon is a guy
Yep.
who wanted to make the best content
I hate
possible,
doing 'em.
But when you get as big as he was and still is, sometimes politics, sometimes behind-the-scenes BS, sometimes money and fame and other vices can really get in the way. But Jadeon himself apparently just wanted to make the best stuff possible and, you know, make the most impact possible in the most positive way he could, and that's really what he felt would make him happy. The money and the cars and all of that was never appealing to him. The clout, the fame, he felt like he never really felt much out of it, you know? And when you see someone like this struggling to reach their inner peace and just having this internal conflict, it can be quite painful to watch. It can be sad to see. I mean, we literally just saw Jadeon crying on stream. He seems like he was having a lot of inner struggle. And
Fucking salmon
struggling
fucked
to
me
find, like,
so
what would
hard.
make him feel fulfilled and like he was moving in a direction that would make him feel like a worthy person of being here on this earth. But at the same time, these growing pains are really important to becoming a better person. And if you know someone who's going through these, then in a short amount of time, they can really turn into something much greater and become a better person who feels like they are serving something greater than themselves. And I think Jadeon is going to become a better person from all of this. I don't know him, obviously. I can't say that he was a bad guy or something. I don't really know a ton about him behind the scenes. I'm just not his friend like that. But I feel like if you are a bad person and you know it deep down, then it's never a bad thing to change and want to devote your life to something less self-centered and something that helps others more than yourself. And apparently to him, the way to do that is to spread Christianity to the masses as much as he can and, you know, tell people about everything that he feels they need to know about God and how they can, you know, feel salvation and be saved. Now, Jadeon actually released another video titled Why I Deleted All of My Videos, which is a 15-minute long explanation of his feelings. He retreads a lot of the ground from his first video where he said he was quitting, but in this he also gave some specific context for an incident that made him reconsider how he was doing things. During one of his prank videos, apparently he actually managed to get 3 people fired from their job directly because he lied to them and said that he worked there when in reality he didn't, and as a result these guys got absolutely punked and destroyed because he just straight up lied to them. And meanwhile, these guys were working there for years and had a good job, and his video got them completely fired. 3 people had their careers, you know, just destroyed because of what he did.
But the one thing I think that haunts me the most is one of my most popular pranks was whenever I snuck into the Gatorade HQ and I deceived the security guards and lied and said that I was working there and that I was part of the commercial team. And I got the prank done, got millions of views off of it, so many people giving me props. But what a lot of you guys don't know is 3 people lost their jobs because of me. Because I lied and was saying that I worked there, I got 3 security officers fired that had been working there for years. All because I wanted to play a practical joke. All because I wanted to entertain you guys. And that's evil.
truly is evil. And for those people that I got fired, I'm sorry. I truly am.
And with that in mind, it's not hard to see how Jadion would feel some level of troll's remorse, because he did something that specifically contributed negatively to someone's life. Even though he was trying to be funny, getting someone fired from their job for filming a YouTube video is pretty shitty, and if I were him, I'd be thinking about how to avoid that entirely. But with that being said, Jadion also seems to be swearing off prank content in general, and basically says that it's ungodly and just a cancer on the earth. I guess in my mind, prank content is not that deep or serious. It's just kind of funny. I mean, obviously, if you're messing with people in public, some bad things can happen. Like, you can kind of get in too deep, or if you behave inappropriately, you can make you can ruin someone's day or get them fired. But in my mind, like, if you're just having an awkward social interaction and then everyone moves on with their day, is it that bad? Not really. Unless you're one of those extremely brave prank YouTubers who decides to take out a knife to prank someone, and then someone who's carrying a gun because they think that you're going to stab them, just like point blank executes you with...
Okay.
Make some
actual justice warrior, huh? Yeah, thank you actual justice warrior for the fall of leftovers.
Something very clear at the top of the show here is that I've seen a lot of people expecting us to come froth and argue, and our friendship is going to end and the show is going to end or something like that, and I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but that's definitely not what we're planning on doing here. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, instead we're going to solve the conflict in its entirety. Let's go.
It's never gonna happen.
A few moments later.
People are saying rip leftovers. Yeah, probably.
Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today we gotta talk about the Fall of the Leftovers podcast. This whole dispute, this total breakdown between Ethan Klein, aka H3H3 Productions, and Jenk's nephew, aka Hamas's biggest cheerleader on the internet.com. And the reason we want to talk about this today is because this is a perfect example of how you can be aligned with somebody on the left 93%, 92%, and it's still not good enough, and how your left-wing friends, your far-left progressives, are not your actual friends. They are people who will backstab you in a heartbeat, and that is exactly what happened to Ethan Klein live across multiple podcasts, and we all got to see it go down in real time. It's absolutely amazing. It's fascinating. I got a million examples, but before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to the podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform. So right off the bat, it is important for everybody to realize that this is not really an actual debate of Israel versus the Palestinian cause or anything like that. Ethan of H3H3 Productions, who is in fact Jewish,
BRB. I'm gonna get something to eat and drink.
Pro-Palestine. He says so repeatedly, and in fact, the first 2.5 hours of their podcast was dedicated to talking about all the evil, bad things that Israel has allegedly done and how Ethan Klein condemns that. He condemns Netanyahu. He doesn't like Israel in all these different regards, and he hopes that the Palestinians can get their own state. In fact, there was quite a powerful moment at the beginning of the podcast where Ethan broke down in tears based on a video that he saw in Gaza of a father holding their dead child. It's absolutely heartbreaking, and I want to show it to you so you can understand where Ethan is coming from.
I saw videos of Palestinian dads holding his dead, like, 5-year-old daughter. I mean, and there was another one that, like,
The asteroid
as a father, it's even hard to talk about. This dude was holding his infant, who was like a year old.
I watched this in real time, I think, actually. For some reason, I was watching this podcast like live in real time when this happened. It was weird. It wasn't live. It happened the day. I watched it the day it came out.
He's holding her like she's alive, like he's just burping her or something.
I thought this moment stood out to me, but I didn't know that it had made waves. I was like, "Whoa!" And I cried too when he cried. I was like, "Yep, I feel you."
I didn't expect to get emotional about that, but like, I'm a new dad, and that did really burn me up.
Yep.
Right?
Now, this is incredibly important for you guys to see. It's a great jumping off point before we get into this whole conversation, before we get into the breakup of leftovers that resulted from this and a subsequent conversation, because it shows you that Ethan has a level of humanity that is not present in Jank's nephew. Ethan is connecting with this person, not as a Palestinian, not as somebody who supports the cause, even though Ethan does support the Palestinian cause, but from father to father, thinking about the potential loss of his own child, and it's emotional, and he can't bear the weight of that emotion. It is a genuinely powerful moment at the beginning of the podcast that really goes to show you, or should go to show you, where Ethan Klein stands, and how there actually is a sensible, strong moral backing right here. Even though I may have a ton of disagreements with Ethan, and even specifically on this particular conflict, I said from the jump, it is important to look at the carnage of the war. It's important for you to see the horrors of the war so that you can understand that this is the destructive element of humanity at play. Don't look away from it. Don't hide from it. One of the things I can't stand is when people take a powerful position on one side, but they don't want to look at the horrors inflicted by that side. And Ethan is examining the horrors from both sides in this video, and this is absolutely crucial to understand his perspective going forward. Now, does Ethan get any credit for this by the left-wing base that is following him and trying to cancel him over this podcast appearance? Absolutely not. Ethan didn't go far enough in this podcast. He didn't endorse the genocide of the Jewish people in Israel, and that is a huge problem for people on the left, who are supposedly, by the way, against all the racisms and the anti-Semiticisms and all that. Now, by contrast, Jank's nephew does not view the world in this same way. Jank's nephew...
I don't know why he keeps saying Jank's nephew, but it's bothering me. Sank's nephew of Sank's sister. This guy's... Why do you keep saying Sank's nephew? Sank's nephew. Why do you keep saying Sank's nephew? What the fuck does that have to do with it?
Engages in the dehumanization of his political opposition, and we don't even have to contain it to this particular conversation, because I'm sure many of you are aware of the viral clip where he endorses the CCP suppressing Tibet, destroying their religion, because the people in Tibet, they're rubes, they're disgusting, they're animals, and the CCP needed to oppress them in order to civilize them.
Okay, Ethan, but like, Tibet was literally a feudal slave mandate, like,
so
autonomous zone.
China did them a favor.
That was one. I mean, in America, when I say something like this, people get very upset. You know, we talk about the Dalai Lama saying "suck my tongue" or whatever, but like, that's not far from the norm in normal Tibetan existence before the Communist Party came in and
so China unilaterally took over Tibet,
like
their culture. They basically are trying to, you know, homogenize the culture.
If your culture,
they're trying to spoil the religion and the identity.
The part of feudal warlords and slavery, abolishing that, yes, I do think that that is good.
No, China did them a favor.
I think that yes, I will be on the record
just
to
like
state
America did it.
That while the Chinese government,
I'm not going to say it.
Well, there is no equivalent in American intervention that you can point to in a similar capacity, unless you're talking about.
Okay, so
and I think this is a good way to describe Taiwan as well. The American federal government going to the South and killing, unfortunately not all of them, but a decent amount of slavers and defenders of slavery.
Now, to be clear, the reason Jank's nephew is making this argument, the reason he's putting this forward, is because he hates the United States of America. Not enough to leave the United States of America, not enough to not live like a rich, happy slob in the United States of America, but enough to endorse our political enemies, which would be China, specifically the Communist Party of China, even if that means the repression and suppression of the religion of Tibetan Buddhism. Like, a lot of people don't realize this, but the Dalai Lama is a figure that is supposed to reincarnate in generation after generation. The Dalai Lama finds the Panchit Lama, and the Panchit Lama is supposed to find the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. But the Chinese Communist Party actually kidnapped the Panchit Lama, who was a child at the time. This is all endorsed whole cloth by Jank's nephew, because again, they're uncivilized swine that are subhuman and needed to be civilized by the CCP.
This is violent retribution from a powerful federal government that squashed, okay?
Tibet is the South in the Civil War?
Yes. Tibet, in the time frame where Chinese intervention happened, would be the South. Yes,
So
they were doing slavery.
What was the moral aspect of the war of China?
The interests are obviously like national security or whatever they claim, but ultimately the reality was that beyond the material benefits, that yes, they were a feudal, oppressive, slavery-backed state, autonomous region.
Now, by the way, if you were to try to even remotely apply this justification to the American conquest of Indian territories in our history, he would flip out, because it's not about principle, it's about being anti-American. If the Chinese do it because they're against America, because they're communists, that makes it A-OK, first class all the way. But if America is involved, or America's on one particular side of an issue, then America's evil, therefore that side is evil, therefore that side can be dehumanized in any regard, no matter what, no matter how extreme that dehumanization is. Now, this carries over into the whole Israel-Palestine conversation, because throughout the conversation, Cenk's nephew will not denounce the terrorist attack that occurred on October 7th. In fact, the closest he comes to denouncing it is saying that it's actually bad tactics. However, this is not a denouncement. This is just a critique on what could be more effective, and he makes this 100% clear when he repeatedly says resistance to apartheid is often imperfect.
At the end of the day, all I'm asking is for people to be able to say that, you know, terrorism is bad, no matter what, without an exception.
Okay, I got a lot of hours on Rust today.
Listen, without that,
It's been about 4 hours, or yeah, like 3 hours on Rust.
But
that's pretty good.
I mean, what the fuck, man?
No, I understand where you're coming from with that, which is why.
What did you say?
You can understand.
You didn't say anything like. You did not say like free Palestine or some shit after murders were happening.
I said that resistance to apartheid is always imperfect, and there are casualties everywhere.
Now, Cenk's nephew says this over and over again throughout the whole course of this hours-long podcast, that it's imperfect, as in just a little bit different, a slight
It's weird that I got credit, but I didn't.
And Hamas would have nailed it. Maybe if they raped a few fewer people, or raped a few more people, or killed more people at the music festival, or killed less people, it would actually be perfect. But right now, it's slightly imperfect because Cenk's nephew can never acknowledge the humanity of people who even are present in Israel, whether or not they're actually citizens of the country or not. Because as we saw through the footage, and I recommend you watch it for yourself, even Thai pumpkin farmers were being beheaded live on camera, recorded by Hamas, but I guess that was just an imperfect beheading, according to Cenk's nephew.
I think a lot of people who have been advocates for Palestinians for many, many years, especially if they're Muslim, know this reality, that you have to be incredibly careful all the time with your rhetoric, and that even in an emotional moment, you can never actually, you can never say something that will be misconstrued. And Mia Khalifa said something that was inappropriate and unacceptable.
Hold on. She showed a picture of terrorists roaming in a pickup truck murdering civilians. She described that as a Renaissance painting.
Yeah.
And she went further and said, "Will the Palestinian freedom fighters please flip their phone
I know.
vertically?" I mean, that's worse.
Where'd it go? Wait, what?
When you say,
where'd
like,
it go?
the timing is, or like, why does Mia Khalifa get all this shit? It's like always a whataboutism.
There.
It's always like, you can never just say yes. And also, can we hold Lindsey Graham accountable? Which I agree, and it's crazy the shit they say, and they should get more attention. It's like there's a refusal to acknowledge, like, it's always about like, well, what about us? Which I understand, but it's like, you have to say, yes, you have this thing, and we also have this thing, and not like in the same breath say, but, yes, but. Like, it just doesn't feel, it feels fucked up. It seems a little obtuse, though, to look at an activist during a terrorist slaughter saying, let's go Palestine, and not say like, yeah, they're probably cheering on Hamas to kill Palestine.
I think that whoever people are cheering on is ultimately inconsequential, because the actions of the state and the actions of our state, the actions of all Western states.
Come on.
Now, what's really interesting about this first episode of the Leftovers podcast is you could tell that it's kind of bothering Ethan, and it's building up over the course of the episode, even though, again, the first 2.5 hours of this episode is Ethan unambiguously condemning Israel, unambiguously supporting the Palestinian cause. However, he's trying to draw a delineation between the Palestinian people and the terrorist organization of Hamas, and he's expecting his friend of years, Jank's nephew, to do the same.
Why do you keep saying Jank's nephew?
However, Jank's nephew is not.
I don't understand why you keep saying Jank's nephew. It's Jank's nephew. Jank's nephew. It's driving me crazy. It seems crazy to me. I'm going. I'm gonna get off you. This was good. And thanks for the excellent content for my stream. I'd like to sub to your channel. Oh. If I find that hunter around here again, I'm going to stomp him. Better not be around here.
I walk this road alone, seeking ways to defend my honor and rid this land of
He'll be coming from the north if he does come. He'll be coming from the north side when he comes.
The dwarves of Baal Modan show no respect for my land. Horrendous blasts drive holes deep into the ground as noisy machines
There he
rip
is.
apart the hills. Lands which once served as home and provider to my tribe are now riddled with destructive dwarves. Attempts at reaching a diplomatic resolution have failed. Now is the time for decisive action. Drive the dwarves from the Baal Modan excavation by force, and bring to me the journal of their leader, Prospector Kazgor.
Bang them 3 times. She'll be riding 6 white horses, and she'll be kind 6 white horses when she comes.
Aggro.
Oh, come on.
Aggro.
Don't want it, huh? I'm not camping his body. That's not my intention. I'm gonna let him go. He can go now. I got him 3 times. It's good enough. Ooh. That was kind of weird. I wonder if Rust crashed. No. But okay, yeah, this was a good session of Rust. I got 3 days in the TC, and I'm doing good. Here comes one. I'm gonna get him. Call it a highway robbery. I mean, I don't know. Sorry, man.